I am Hyphen X, and welcome to the Great Conversation, where we indulge in healthy dialogue about topics that are important in today's society and culture. Woo! We're back. Oh, I'm so happy to be back, guys. We missed you guys. We just took a little, you know how we do. We took our birthday month. It's our birthday month here, the Great Conversation podcast. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things are going to change. You guys are going to be able to see us on I believe it's 365.com. We're still waiting on that ink to dry on that, but we're very, very excited to be over there on Flight Radio 105.7 FM Freeport with our homegirl Tina Renee and Soulful Discussions. We're so excited to be added to that family. I'm excited. B-Facts, what's good?
I'm back.
What's good, man? It's been a year of steady commitment and everything. And when the pandemic came, we kind of took a different route almost, huh?
Oh yeah, we went Zoom. We didn't give up. We went Zoom.
Yeah, we went Zoom, and then we actually got out here in these streets. And when I got out here in these streets, I met someone very special to the streets. To the left of me, I got Aija Penix.
Hey.
What's going on?
A lot.
Hey, for people who don't know you, just go ahead and just give them a brief synopsis of yourself.
I am a filmmaker, a producer, and a director by trade. I produce stage and film. I'm a native of Rockford, Illinois, and that's what I do. I have been actively involved in the civil rights movement that is happening here in Rockford, Illinois.
What year is this?
2020.
We're having a civil rights movement right now in the Midwest, not too far from Wisconsin, in 2020.
2020. Rockford never had a civil rights movement, so here we are.
And let's talk about a little bit of that in one moment. I want to talk about what's going on here locally just for a moment.
Okay.
Mercy Health announced that it is providing only outpatient and clinical services at its Rockton Avenue location. In efforts to consolidate staff between its two hospitals, some of the Rockford City aldermen, they aren't happy with the Mercy Health decision to shut down the trauma emergency services on the West Side location. One alderman said, Alderman Harvey, she said that there's just a lot of things that border on the cruel, and I think that they send a message that communities of color don't matter. This is what Alderwoman Harvey stated. Alderman Bill Rose, every time a major issue comes forward, the services are reduced at the Rockton campus. And it always gets blamed on that supposed issue. But I think that it is fair to say that the public deserves an answer on what the long-term plans are for Javon Bay, or however you say it. What, is that Javon?
It's Javon.
Is it Javon Bay?
Javon Bay.
Is this a more? Like, what is this?
I used to make them mad. They be like, oh, so we going to Javon Bay.
Yeah,
like
like
I don't know. I thought it was
I thought it was just Mercy Health. Like, who is? I don't know who that is. I didn't even do my research on this.
Javon Bay is the owner of Mercy
Yeah,
Health.
but like who?
He's the face.
Yeah, but who is he?
He's not.
Is he a doctor?
He's not a physician.
No.
He's not a medical professional. I believe he's just an administrator.
Oh,
His story is that he started in housekeeping.
It's a powerful
He lived
story.
on the west side of Rockford.
Oh, it's a powerful story.
But he's destroying it.
Yeah. Is it self-hate? I don't know. Or maybe it's not what it was when he was younger. So therefore he loses.
He's a money hungry tycoon.
There it is.
All of the Mercy hospitals is off the highway. All of them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Getting it all.
Who does not care about the people on the west side of the river?
And it looks like this is what some of these aldermen are saying. It's exactly what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
And Old Tom wasn't happy either, so he says. But we know Old Tom says a lot of things.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the question is like, what kind of penalties is the Mercy Health System going to receive for not fulfilling the promises that they gave to the city?
None, because they didn't hold Schnooks accountable either.
I think there's an underlying agreement and understanding between these businesses and the city that they're able to renege or have a breach of contract or some type of, just plain out breaking of promises on things that they were supposed to do. And they're not doing it.
I don't know like what the contracts are like between these entities in the city, but I can say that it's very apparent that the city has no balls when it comes to holding any institution accountable. They have no wherewithal to do so. They care too much about keeping things at bay and pleasing the majority, and I don't see why this would be any different.
So it's almost like you're accusing Rockford of being a play it safe to the majority city.
Yes.
Majority by number or majority
by nationality or ethnicity.
Some would say that they only pander to the ones that actually vote. What do you say to that?
I say that they pander to the ones they think are the most important voters.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
I will have to concur with that.
Yeah.
Because I see the mayor of our city coming out in support of the police. I see him saying that he doesn't mind sitting down and talking to the people. I have a table prepared before thee. That's how he sounds. And I'm saying, if you're listening to the protests, not even when they were outside of your home and they were screaming and chanting, did you not hear then? Do you not know what the issues are?
He knows what the issues are.
Do you not? Does he not care?
No, he doesn't care. There was a situation where there was allegedly crosses burnt in front of a protester's yard.
Oh, goodness.
And as that instance was going around, I publicized that information and I tagged Tom in a post. I spoke with Tom that evening and I told him that he's going to have to take a stand and let the city of Rockford know that acts of intimidation and racially motivated acts would not be tolerated. Tom McNamara told me that he would not make such a statement because just as many people who don't feel like he's doing enough, there are people who feel like he's doing too much and he does not want to upset them to fill his email inbox anymore. He said that he would reactively make a statement, but he would not proactively do so. And he would reactively make a statement if some media outlet wanted to do a story on it and call him to get a statement. And then he called me back to tell me that his public statement would be made on my Facebook post.
Oh.
Which he did.
And what did that say?
It basically said that, in paraphrasing, it said, I checked with the law enforcement agencies. I didn't find any confirmation of this incident. And acts of racially motivated acts and acts of intimidation would not be tolerated.
So his public statement was only to the people
that follow me and that were following that post.
And not...
No, it was not a public statement.
They have a city Facebook page that is his platform for that. All his statements have been released on that platform.
Do you hear the crickets?
So what I'm hearing is that Tom has no problem coming to the slave quarters, shaking hands, understanding, listening, but he doesn't want to bring anybody back to the big house.
No, yeah, he
leaves those issues in the slave quarters.
He does a good job at not taking a stand.
Yeah.
He does a good job at pandering to black people to support him, but not supporting black people when it matters.
So when it's convenient,
Yeah.
he has us in a cookie jar.
Yeah.
He has us in a
And
cookie
too many of us buy into it.
Yeah. Now, why
Too
do you
many
think-
of
why
us
do you
call
think
him
that is?
friend.
Yeah, there it is. I agree 125% with that. A lot of us have looked at him and think that just because he listens to you and takes a picture with you, that any of these government officials are your friend.
No.
They're not even at acquaintance status.
No. They are.
They just know who you are.
It's a business relationship, and it's a matter of exchanging resources.
Yeah.
And if exchanging resources is what makes a friendship, then by all means, sure, call him a friend. But a friend to me is someone who stands up when I can't stand for myself. And Tom McNamara has not done that.
He's always so mellow and cool. Is he Thomas Jefferson? Is he our Thomas Jefferson? Like, he tries to relate and be calm and, you know what I'm saying, I can do this, I can do that. But then when it really comes down to it, he has to live by some. Tom McNamara, we really want to hear what is your, not your political stance, but what is your stance? What are your beliefs on all of this? On everything that's happening in the city that you're in charge of running? What do you think is going to be the end result of all this? And that's not a question for you yet. That's a question for him.
Okay,
Like,
because I was going to say, I think I know what the end result of this is going to be.
what do you got?
He's not going to be voted back into office.
If he does what, though?
He's not going to be voted back into office at this point because the entire city is divided by racism, right? When it comes to Tom's position.
Okay.
And there's half the city that feels like Tom McNamara is not helping the racial injustices that are happening in the city. And the other half, the more conservative half, feels like he's doing way too much. So the white folks hate him because they feel like he's race baiting. And the black folks hate him because he's not taking a stand.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's losing on both sides.
If I was if you were his political strategist, what would you just have him to do to regain the trust of the voters?
At this, that's not even a fair question. Like, I would never be his political strategist because
First of all.
I feel like the best politicians plant their feet. And he's just flowing like water. You know, he goes wherever it's most convenient at the time and just does not plant himself any place.
So what I'm hearing is Tom McNamara, plant your feet, be a man, bro. Say it with your chest.
Or say that you're not going to say it with your chest out loud so people can hear you.
10 toes down, though. Whatever you say, just be 10 toes down. 10 toes down with that. Just was talking with Aija Penix here, talking about good old Tom and city politics. Now we're bringing in Leslie Roth. What's up, bro?
Is that difficult for you to say Leslie Roth?
It
You
is,
gotta
bro.
like prep yourself.
I have to prep myself, man.
You can say DT too.
I know this man. I know this man is DT. The truth.
Nah, yeah,
That's what I know. I tell everybody else to make sure everything else is off, and mine is the one that's on. We're live, baby. All right. So, tell us what's been going on with you, and do you feel like a marked man?
A marked man?
Yeah.
No, I don't feel like a marked man because just in general, being black in America, you know what I'm saying? You feel like you constantly got a bullseye on you, you know what I'm saying? So I don't feel anything, I don't feel any extra attention on me that I haven't in some manner or another felt just being black, you know what I'm saying? I remember when Trayvon Martin got killed, I maybe was like 19 or 20 around that. I think I was 19, and I remember for like the next 8 months, anytime I had on a hoodie, you know what I'm saying, and I had the hood on, you know what I'm saying, like I had that thought, you know what I'm saying, in my head a little bit. So same thing with whenever I done, get pulled over and the cop behind you, you know what I'm saying, like that's some of those same thoughts and emotions and that same tension that you feel in the moments when you black, it's just sort of done got elongated now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't really feel necessarily like a marked man. I just feel like more aware. You know what I'm saying? Of some of these situations that before, part of it is through as a coping mechanism. You know what I'm saying? When you black, you don't want to like go through every day, thinking that because you black, you got something on your head, especially when, we don't live in it. We had ancestors who fought so that way you could be able to cope with it, you know what I'm saying, and be able to suppress it. Like they fought to, get rid of the sign that say black and white here, to get rid of the law that say black and white here, even though we know now that, some of those gains that they was making was, more token than it was actually genuine, but they went that extra mile so that way you don't have to go through your life every day being reminded that you black, you know what I'm saying, which has become a gift and a curse for us now, you know what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say, no, I don't feel marked.
Now, it's funny that you both have referred to, in the earlier conversation, Aija said about this is the civil rights movement here in Rockford, and you think Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, black and white photos. You know what I'm saying? That's immediately. And then you brought up the people that had worked and died for us to be able to do things, things of that nature. So it's almost like we're still marching, we're still protesting against the exact same things that's been wrong. So that leads me to this question. What, this is for both of you guys, what would you say are 3 major flaws in our current government system, locally and federally?
The first major flaw to me is that we operate under the system of capitalism. And our capitalism is based on human capital. So without getting too deep into it, when we're born, we have a price on our head that the federal government and the Federal Reserve attaches to the amount of money that they think we will generate in our lives. And so every move that we make as individuals is to either build onto that amount of money that we're supposed to generate or taking away from it. And the federal government deals with us that way. The greatest resource is the human resource, and we are livestock. And so I think that is like the biggest, for me, the biggest thing is that we live in a country that is built on human capitalism. So people were bought and sold into slavery. Those people had a price tag on them. They had an amount of money that they were supposed to generate throughout history. And people seem to think that kind of went away, and it hasn't. The Federal Reserve still borrows money against the debt when people are born. And they expect for us to generate so much money in taxes, up until we die. And that's our currency here. Like, our currency is based upon human sacrifice, human lives. So that to me is like the biggest flaw in our current government.
Being a capitalistic society.
A human capital.
A human capital.
Yeah.
You gotta say that. So we still involved in human trafficking.
Yes. Yes, human trafficking through the prison system, human trafficking through the military, human trafficking through the tax system. It's ugly. Yeah.
What you got for us, bro?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with her stance with the human capitalism, and I think in general, I don't think that I know 2 of them is the same ones that Dr. King said, but I'm not sure if this is the exact 3, but racism, militarism and racism, and to me those 3 things, they all are also the foundation of America. You know what I'm saying? When people talk about some of the problems with America and the issues with America, I think that the biggest divide in America is that those things that form the basis of America, different people got different things out of them, drastically, different, depending on what your ethnicity is and what your gender is and what your race is and what your class, ends up being, because it was, some things that was, like how capitalism works. Capitalism and racism are deeply intertwined, but also capitalism is so strong within America that it can override racism. You know, like the most racist and capitalist people, when they gotta choose between they racism or they capitalism, they gonna choose their capitalism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they'll pretend to like the black guy and put the, you know, had a black basketball team, you know, and, you know, talk about them behind their back instead of openly being like, hey, you can't be nowhere around here no more if it'll generate more revenue, you know. So you know, capitalism and racism, you know, they deeply intertwined from the beginning of America being made, you know, with the genocide of the indigenous people and with the slavery of black people. Both of those things had to do with, you know, with capital. You know, one was with land, and then with getting rid of them, getting them out the way, got them land, which was capital in a sense. And the same thing with bringing black people over, it was to till that land, you know, was also capital in a sense. And since the people who was doing it were white people, you know, racism was just another thing that they attached to it, and it added to their superiority complex, you know. And it's the same thing with, you know, with men and women, you know, with specifically with white men and the manner in which they treated women. You know, women were treated as in a sense of, you know, sort of a capital, you know, like, you know, women, they couldn't own nothing, they didn't vote, you know what I'm saying? They was there for specific purposes. You know, if you wasn't a white man at the beginning of this, you was here for a very specific purpose, and the capitalism and the racism intertwined with that. And then naturally the militarism, you know, is advanced through time, you know, but the way that they dominated with the capitalism and the racism was with militarism, you know what I'm saying? They came over here with them guns that, you know, they didn't have over here. They went to Africa with them guns that they didn't have, you know, in that sense. In Africa, they had weaponry that they didn't have. And
Technology.
So, yeah, they had that, you know, and so they used, and once they got to America, they used all three of them things, intertwined all three of them things, and that's what gave them the oppressive nature. And so the white, I say all those things to say, like, the white individual or the white family or the white generation of people who have only gotten the freedoms and the liberties, and they don't have those generations, and they don't have to hear about those stories of their people being slaughtered for this country to be built. You know, they feel real intertwined to those ideologies and those philosophies that we love. We all want to live up. We all want those things to be realistic. We all want those things to be true, you know. But like how Aija said, most people, if you're born in a lower class, it's very unlikely that you're gonna die high class. You know, most people, if you're born in high class, it's unlikely that you're gonna die in low class. You know, a lot of these things have been set up from the beginning of time, and so when you're on the opposite side of some of those things, when you're on the opposite side of liberty and freedom and justice and the pursuit of happiness, you can see the blood trail and the body bags that led to being there. You can see the negatives of the racism and the negatives of the militarism and the negatives of the capitalism, where it is a set of people somewhere talking just like how we talking now, who they have reaped the benefits from militarism and capitalism and from racism. Yeah, and they could be very good people. You know what I'm saying? It's black people in 2020 who have reaped benefits from racism, capitalism, and militarism. You know what I'm saying? There's somebody somewhere who dad was in the high ranking in the army in general. He got to be high ranking in the army as a general because they did some kind of token integration, and that's where he got, you know what I'm saying, where he was at. And they always put money real high on a pedestal, and they put money above their people. And so militarism, racism, and capitalism have helped them black people, you know, to get to their place. So it's harder for them to see it, you know, even in 2020, some of those things is like that.
Yeah.
It's like, why is racism such a taboo subject in America? It's like the rest of the world knows how brutal
Because
American racism was.
nobody wants to admit their dirty secret.
But it's not a secret.
But it's dirty.
Oh, it's a
very
secret.
dirty.
No,
It's
it is.
dirty.
It's a
It's
secret,
dirty.
and it's a secret
It's a secret
too.
here, though. It's like a secret in the house.
No, it's a house. It's a secret in the house that America has done a perfect job. I tell people this all the time. Like, as much as I dislike the some of the concepts that the founding fathers truly believed in, and some of they, you know, do as I say, not as I do type philosophies. Those men were intelligent men, and they set things into play that 400 years later you can't reverse those things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did was they didn't make it. They didn't make it overt. You know, they didn't put it right into your face. You know what I'm saying? As much as we look back now and it feels like it was right into your face, They was sleeping with them black women.
Oh,
they was
yeah.
having kids with them black women. They was having black people in their house.
Those beasts.
They was having was having overseers that was black. So like,
Yeah.
it's not like they just was like, fuck all of y'all. Y'all all right here. You know, it's all brute force with everybody. No, it was different methodologies to it that have led to the point where they did make it, you know, same thing with Christianity, you know what I'm saying? I tell people all the time, one of the, you know, they talk about like the best trick the devil ever did was, you know, making people believe he don't exist. Like with Christianity, what America did with that was way better than the trick the devil did, because the Europeans went and took these stories that blatantly in the story, it's in Africa, in the Middle East. They don't even change that. They don't even feel like they don't try to. It's not a Bible in a white Christian church that's covering up that Moses would had a child with an Ethiopian woman,
right?
Or where they hide when you open up the Bible where the land is at. They put it right.
They zoom in.
And they put it
so you can see that it's
they
the Middle East and Africa.
Yeah, this was these stories is about
These are
y'all.
black people.
But we gonna make them be white. We gonna talk to you about them when they white. We gonna make we gonna get propaganda make you feel like they white, you know what I'm saying? And by the time y'all get to the point where y'all understand the language and understand the culture, y'all gonna think these people white too. It's gonna be once the internet come and, you know, more time to pass when you get to that.
Do y'all remember the moment that when you kind of discovered that, first of all, Egypt was in Africa?
Yes.
I
always knew that Jesus was a man of color, right? But I was way too old when I realized, like, this entire story is an Afrocentric story.
Yeah.
And this entire story is anti the people that possess it right now. Like, there are no white people outside of the Greeks and the Romans that they encounter way later in this story.
They going to help them. Like,
none.
Yeah.
I was way too old when I found that out. I was in my 20s.
Man, I was around the same time, like 2019, 2021.
Yeah,
what about you?
I was a teenager, but it was different for me because like I went to a private school from kindergarten to 6th grade. I tell people all the time, my kindergarten to 6th grade was a private school. 7th grade to 12th grade was a public school. The first 6 years, it was me and maybe one other person would be black in the class. The last 6 years, it maybe be 2 white people in the class. So I had a Bible class every year that was taught by a white man. Everybody was white, you know what I'm saying, in the stories or whatever, you know what I'm saying, as they give them to you. But I had a black family that took me to a black church, and all the person who I heard telling the story all the time was black. So when I read these stories, I seen them as black, and I read the story so much all the time. And then once I got to a certain age, when I was a teenager, and I'm like looking into these things, and I'm trying to figure out, like how the hell Shorty talking to this damn snake? And I'm going real deep, like how does this snake talk? And I get to the point where I get to Ethiopia and I get to these different lands that when I look up the words and look up the map, it's in Africa, and I'm like, you know, forget Shorty talking to the snake. Everybody in this story is black. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we were taught to listen to it.
That's white people.
We were taught to listen to it and believe it, and which was that white people shit.
Yeah,
like that's the slave owner saying, Don't read. You should not be able to read. We don't want you to understand what you see. We want you to just listen to what we say.
And what's crazy about that is that wasn't really done to black people at first. Really, first white people did that to white people. Like they got these stories that was about, you know, black. It was black people in these stories. You know, they knew that these people in these stories was black. You know, like they knew where Rome had went and conquered, but they needed something to form the religion. It was such a big swelling and a big, you know, like so many people behind it. They do the Council of Nicaea where they put all of them books together, and then they go and they use that to convince these white people the same shit. Don't worry about
what
the country
it says.
and where it's at. Just take the, you know, I tell people all the time, the biggest difference, I feel the same way about education and knowledge that I feel about religion and spirituality. Like what they did with the spirituality that was in Africa is that they bundled it together and made rules to it. And whenever you put rules with spirituality, the rules is gonna become bigger than the spirituality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got different men disseminating it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the worst things about that I used to feel like, man, I can't fuck with church because of some of this shit. Like once you go through the Bible, you realize
Once you know, you cannot unknow.
Yeah, that's a man up there talking about hell.
Yeah.
Bro, they not talking about you burning in this Bible like
No.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they telling you in this Bible, like, look, G, when you die, you ain't got no body no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a wrap. You know, how
Right,
you gonna be
tell you
burning?
that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? You're not even your body.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So how you gonna be burning? You know what I'm saying? And I remember thinking
Right,
that
they
shit
said they
when-
ain't got no flesh.
and it's like that's one of the things where that was just some shit that they was doing to scare people in Europe.
Yeah, it's
Like, they was
intimidation
like,
somebody
tactics.
told me
It's the
Jesus-
same kind of shit
he's
that they
like,
do
the man who
with
walks.
law enforcement. Like they just try to intimidate you and scare
That's
you
that European
into
shit.
buying into a concept and an idea that's not real.
Yeah. So that's kind of funny. The church and the police definitely did the
Same thing.
anything, all of America is just European
One to
culture.
arrest you physically, one
Yes.
to arrest you spiritually.
European culture, man.
Yeah.
It like their culture. Okay, so
Might is right. That's
okay. This is what I believe. I believe that white people come from a source of survival.
Well, white people
which
are
gives them aggression.
barbarians.
conquer.
Yeah.
They're naturally barbarians.
That's- I was
They
being
come
nice,
from the
yeah.
polar areas
Well,
of the world.
I just think it's the conquering, like
Yeah.
that it's one of those things where when you trace shit back, like, and they talk about like how generational things stay, which is like us being scared of snakes and shit like that. In Europe, like they got good at fucking conquering.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
because
like
they are barbaric by nature.
Yeah, and they, like they got fucking. And once they got good at like like all the great like conquerors, like some of the greatest conquerors that get closer to like our civilization, a lot of them would be white men. You know what I'm saying? And like they would, Alexander was going, he conquered Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Different people, but earlier on it was black people that some of the black people was conquering.
Well, we
the same
civilized
way.
them and taught them, and they took it and capitalized on it.
Yeah.
They took socialism and intelligence and technology and they turned it into capitalism and conquering the world as their capital.
So let me pose a question. So I'm sitting. Okay, so you look at. I was talking to an Egyptologist years back, and he was like, why the white man was eating raw meat and crawling on all fours. Egypt was a dynasty upon dynasty upon dynasty.
Yes.
So I asked him. I said, what happened? Because white people are winning now. They're winning right now. What happened? I said, do you believe
They were more vicious than us.
But that's hold on.
That's what I
wait.
said.
This okay.
Or
So
diabolical.
this is where we go. This is where we go split at, because it's the same thing where it's the Americanized. The difference between and it's weird because like I do this all the time. I'm going to the sarcastic thing. Like I'll say like I'll be specific to say that's an American type of thing, or that's an American thing, and then that's a European thing because it is real different. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things that we associate with the concept of white people, that's the American in them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and we have to understand that America was started as an exile land for the worst of the worst out of England.
Yeah, and it was
their so America is their prison yard, their trash can, and their military.
Yeah.
So we deal with the worst of the worst of European
and you gotta
culture.
think the same
These are
thing
all
here
butts,
was
like the butt of the bread.
Yeah.
But and
Bag
it was the same thing. The same thing when they came.
bread.
When you come to America, like the further you go back, you just say it's like the Wild Wild West. Like once they came here, it's a free for all. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things that we associate now with civilization, like. None of the people had that, you know what I'm saying, as you start going back, you know what I'm saying, like, now because of the Americanized way and the things that, like, the American white man did, because once they brought all the black people over here, they, in turn, took away all of our, the aggression and the certain nature that, like, of conquering and being kings, like, because we had some of those warriors
we were warriors.
But once they brought them over here.
But we didn't have weapons.
But and then too, once they brought them over here, they stopped being warriors because they enslaved them. They lost all of that. So like so they reset these people. So like when we talk about like white people in a certain manner, it's because you know what I'm saying. I watched a documentary where they was talking about that, like the black people are America's children. You know what I'm saying? They they took us away from everything that we knew. They brought us here and they replanted us. You know what I'm saying? As much as we like to to, you know, as much as we disagree with some of the mannerisms that things happen, you know, it's nothing I can do if I take your baby and then I take your baby and I raise your baby for the next 30 years. Once that baby gets to be 35, 40, even if it found out how it got kidnapped, I done raised the baby for 30 years, you know what I'm saying?
I've cultured them. I've completely cultured them to my way of life.
And it's a complete different thing. So like when we talk about, like, especially like with Elijah Muhammad, we go back in the 60s and you see the way that they speak about white people, it's because they have been brought over with nothing, you know, as complete infants. And the white people that brought them over and had them as infants was barbaric to them in slavery, you know what I'm saying? And once they got out of slavery, they was deceptive with them in nature, and they continued to be terrorists to them, you know, at every turn. And that is different than European white people, though, you know, because the European white people was conquerors, but they had conquer and, like, they have tried to engender you in and bring you in, you know what I'm saying? Like, they would sleep, you know, Alexander married the Egyptian queen, and they had started bringing them in. That's how these lighter tones come into Africa, because, you know, they didn't always enslave everybody.
They colonized.
Yeah, they was European is colonizers, heavily colonizers,
Yes,
but the American was brutalized.
Yes.
They brutalized, you know, and that's why when we, you know, and sometimes especially white people who don't understand, like when we say certain things, like how they was on Nick Cannon about some of the shit he was saying, you know what I'm saying? Like it's because they don't understand what it meant to take these people, to get rid of their language, their culture, to get rid of everything, to basically make these people your child, and then to beat the child for the entire time that you have it, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, every one of you didn't beat them, but the majority beat them. And the systems and how things have been continued to be set up has continued to be a brutalization. It's not, I tell people, it's not 10 years you can find in American history that haven't negatively affected black people.
Yes.
It's not a 10-year span.
Not one.
So what is the beef? What do you believe the beef is between the Americans or the white people versus the blacks? Like, what is the beef?
I think that the beef is hierarchy. Like, I feel like black people at their most natural state do not recognize authority because it's a very communal space.
It's the same thing because how they brought us over here. You know, like if you get the kids who be the worst with authority, a lot of times be the kids who done been beat. You know what I'm saying, by their parents, and who they associate authority with something negative. You know.
Well, yeah, and we did. I don't think that we can say that we had, even though we had dynasties, like everyone always had enough, right? People were not. There was enough to care for people in Africa. At home, like, we had enough resources to care for everyone. When greed came into play and people wanted to come and steal things to fatten up their own pockets because of what? Capitalism. Then there came this hierarchy of human beings. And we don't recognize that. We don't have a hierarchical society. We have a communal society. White people have a power craving. They have to sit high and look low.
So are you saying, like, black people are a natural state, black people don't have a sense of classism?
Right. We have more of a sense of community. We have our hierarchy is not the same. Like, our hierarchy is based upon actual physical strength, actual mechanical skill. It's not just because I said so. Like, the strongest person in the village was the strongest person in the village because they were the strongest person in the village. Not because they were able to collect enough to call themselves what they wanted to be called. I think the Europeans have this pseudo hierarchy where it's just based upon not deed, but nepotism.
Yeah, because they got royalty. Any country that's got royalty, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just nepotism. Yeah, it's just nepotistic. You know, like and in Africa, like way back when, before we were colonized and all of those things, like even other neighboring villages would still have wars. They would still have battles, but they would pay their debts. They would go into servitude. They weren't kept into servitude until they died. They were kept into servitude long enough to pay the debt, and then they were set free. Like, there was never more. I need more than I need.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that the hierarchy is different in European based based countries and African based.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people get this notion in their mind that before blacks were captured and stolen from Africa and brought over here to America, we lived in a utopia. When that's not the case.
No.
But you said the rules of war
were rules of war.
They were
and they were fair rules of war, and people followed them until they were colonized and brutalized.
So this mentality, because white people have been affected by slavery as well. Mm-hmm. So they have a certain way of thinking. I'm an authority figure. I'm superior. I'm better. What I say go. I'm the protector of society. Yeah, exactly. They have racism. That mindset. And when it's written into the Constitution, the mindset, when it's written into the Constitution and it's written into police union contracts, and it's that mindset is put into at team meetings before the patrol officers go out.
It's also written into the education system. It's written into the welfare system. It's written into housing. It's written into food. Yeah. It's written into water. You know, it's written into everything that affects human life in this country. Like, it's all based on that same level of hierarchy. I need to have more than you, and we need to have a poor so that we can have a rich. It's pure capitalism.
That's the only way, capitalism can work. Like, it can't, like how you were saying, like, it can't work no other way. Like, I listened to Stokely Carmichael, and he was, talking about capitalism, and he was like, he had like a chalkboard, and I can't say it as eloquently as he said it, but he was just saying, like, and this is one of the things that, I've been, reading about too, like, this idea that I think one of the first people to say it was Richard Nixon. This idea that of black capitalism, what I'm saying? This fairy tale of being able to be a black capitalist, and Stokely Carmichael was saying, like, that's how capitalism works, is that you have people who at the very top, they actually capitalists, like the top 1%, they capitalists. Jeff Bezos, he a capitalist, and then you got a bunch of all these other people who underneath who they think they capitalists,
but they are not.
But they not capitalists. Like, Jeff Bezos is a capitalist, You the dude who own 10 laundromats or 20 and 10 McDonald's, like, you not a capitalist, like, you trying to work to become a capitalist, but like how capitalism work is, it trick him and make him think, oh, I'm a capitalist, and all these other people work for me, and like, really, I'm the capitalist, and then what it do too is the person who worked for the guy who think he a capitalist, it keep him working because he think, well, maybe one day I can be a capitalist, and I'm only the manager at this McDonald's, but eventually he owned 10 McDonald's. This how he started out. I just gotta own 5, 6 McDonald's, and then maybe I can be a capitalist, and that's a never-ending cycle,
But there's only so much capital.
Yes, and so it can't work.
So it cannot work.
But you cannot
build
your whole life going and thinking like, and that's what keep capitalism going. Because by the time you realize, all of these two guys realize I'm not a capitalist, they dead. You know what I'm saying? Because they try to be, they gonna be
they work their whole life trying to get there.
So like, and then he gonna have kids, and his kids is gonna inherit all this, and they gonna be capitalists. And the same thing, this person gonna teach his kids who thought he was a capitalist that this is what you do to try to become a capitalist. And the same person who was the worker, he gonna teach his kids the same thing. When you go to school, you taught that if especially with minorities, you taught that if you don't succeed, it's because of something that you ain't done personally. You know what I'm saying? And black people, it's certain things, a lot of things in America for black people specifically are gifts and a curse, and why I put black people at a very specific advantage where especially like in the 60s and the 70s, and they did very duplicitous things to stop this from happening, but we at a very specific place where we can really alter, American culture, and alter the things that's going on in America, because a lot of these things that we talking about, like the manner in which they affect black people is so specific and so predominant that if black people could get together and be like, okay, this is gonna be something that can't affect us no more. Like, if we get together and be like, look, you can't be a black capitalist. It's not gonna work. I remember when everybody on that one Tuesday was like, Blackout Tuesday, we only spending money with black people, and people was posting their screenshots of the people that they sent money to. I talked to my homie, like, at the end of the week, I was like, bro, remember them days when the Blackout Tuesday thing? I was like, who you think made the most money on that day, black people or white people? He was like, black people did. I'm like, bro, white people cleaned up that day. All the black people that you bought shirts from, they get them shirts. The
From the
shirts
white
getting
people.
printed out of a white place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The black people whose shop you went to and only bought the
They
hair
pay
there,
their
they
rent.
rent with a white man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like the black shop store that you went into to eat soul food, they got them groceries from white people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how capitalism is set up. You know what I'm saying? That if you know that, and that's why they try to, you know, when Nixon came, they try to convince this idea of black capitalism and go away from these ideas, you know, with people being on the streets and with the breakfast program and saying that, you know, the country is set up, because really the country is set up for poor people, and since black people are in a minority and they did specific things to put us in poor neighborhoods and to generationally make us poor, America is set up for poor people to stay poor so rich people can stay rich and the people that's in the middle can stay in the middle. Everything in America is set up to stay status quo.
Yes.
Even laws changing, nothing is, you know, set up, you know, the individual does not manipulate the system in America. The system manipulates the individual. Right now, every white cop could drop dead and all black cops could replace him, and the policing would still be racist. Every person that's an elected official that's white could drop dead right now, and black people could take all their places along with all the black cops, and the country would still be racist.
Yes.
All the white teachers could drop dead right now, and black teachers could replace all of them, and that curriculum is still going to be racist. You know, that's how it's set up. You know,
it sounds like we need total reconstruction, not even reform.
Well, you have to get to I think before you can get to reconstruction, you have to start with reform.
You have to start with reform before you can get to abolition. But like the only way a system becomes a system is because it is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And we would have to literally burn the machine up.
Yeah.
And bring all these minorities that have existed in society to the table and have them rewrite the Constitution.
Yeah.
Redevelop a whole different system. But the problem with that is that if the mind is still stuck on capitalism and the mind is still enslaved and our moral is based upon the moral that they set for us, we're just going to recreate the same thing.
No, yeah, we got a place where go ahead. Okay.
And when you say that, I think about what's on the table about the Community Relations Board, having the Community Relations Review Panel. I'm sorry, They have a review panel, but then you have the aldermen picking the people that's going to be on the review panel.
It's going to be like the same politic that makes up the city council will make up the city review board.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
It's a system that is designed to be bigger and outlast any of us. Like this system has been going on for generations.
You have to like go through like very specific. It's almost like one of those the movies where they got like the prophecies and stuff like that. Yeah. You got to go through like specific times in America, and you can see the times where it was an opportunity for change to happen, and you can see the mistakes that made it so that the change couldn't happen, and you can see that a lot of the reasons that them things happen, which you know why I think that these next 10 years is going to be, you know, very interesting to watch unfold. The main reason that, you know, and it's the thing we was just talking about, I tell people all the time, and I just really learning this, like in America don't got conspiracies. America it's just a lot of shit you don't know about. You know what I'm saying? It make you feel like it's a conspiracy, but it's just a lot of shit you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And even like the secrets, like it's one of them things where it's like your mama smoke, like she not really keeping it a secret. She smoke. Right. You just don't know where she go to smoke.
You don't know where she's going. You don't know what smoke smell like.
Exactly.
Because it smells normal to you.
Exactly. You know, and that's what it is with America. So I say all those things to say like, when slavery, like in the end of the Civil War, when slavery first ended and they started, you know, the prison and they started policing and they started, you know, around that time when the Great Migration, like that 30-year period, if information was more free to those black people, they would have did things a lot differently. Yeah. They would have, you know, if information was more free, I tell people this all the time. If I could go and get all the people that was in Mexico, all the indigenous people that was over there, even once Europeans that came over and, you know, sort of colonized it and made, you know, Mexico what it was. If I could get all of them, show them what they gonna show them, all their ancestors and all their kids that's gonna be in cages and the issues at the border of migration. If I could go get all the indigenous people, show them how they got the reservations and the Washington Redskins and how this land that was originally theirs, where they end up in it, and then I go get all the black people that was slaves. that didn't want to do it, that didn't want to revolt on the plantation, or when they first got off, they ain't really know what to do, and so that they sort of stayed on the plantations and worked for a little better, a little less. If I could get them all to see what the future gonna be like, and then I get them all together, they'll make different decisions, because they know this is what can happen. Either we can have 4, 5, 6 different little minority groups, and then be trying to deal with these white people who originally came here in 4, 5, 6 different minority groups, but realize Italian, it's more black people than it is Italians.
Right.
It's more black people than it is Irish. It's more black people than it is Polish. It ain't more black people than white people though. Yeah. You know, so they got that together. If we could get all of them together at certain, at some of them times, it changed, history. Right when slavery ended though, like, cause that would have been your gap. Yeah. That'd have been a time where you could have been like, get everybody here, move everybody around. You would have to have somebody having information and knowing though how to do all that. So I just
think after the Civil War, black people were kind of like in the whole, we're Americans now.
I think that they just didn't know. They didn't have no information. There was no information, bro.
If we were to, work our land. And
can you imagine?
They couldn't read, bro.
Can you imagine being like 400 years from not knowing the language, not being able to read, not being able to look at a home and see family that you knew was your blood family, and just walking straight out the door of that being planted in capitalist America.
Yeah, they had Stockholm Syndrome.
What?
That was the first Stockholm Syndrome that ever took place in America. And I tell people this all the time too. Like, the further you go back, the less people can read. Black, white, woman. The further you go back, the less people can read. And the further you go back, the less books it is, and the more important it is to know how to read. You know what I'm saying? So I say all that to say, if they had the information to get together right after slavery was ended, it would have been a different America. I think the same thing happened in the 50s and the 60s and in like the mid part of the 70s, where if you could go and show them people who eventually when they stopped marching, when they did stop doing the MLK, if you could go back and show the Black Panthers like why it was just a little too aggressive, too quick, and too early. If you go back and show Malcolm X why you can't, and don't get alienated from everybody too early, too quick. If I could go back and show them that, look, I know what y'all thinking right now is you think the issue is let's get the integration fixed, let's get some black people some of these things. Some black people want to separate and do this. Listen, it's going to be Crips and Bloods here in about 15 years, my G. You know what I'm saying? We need to worry about getting these. We need to worry about grassroots, building stuff up, worrying about the community. Listen, G, I know this is right now. Heroin seem like this. They finna give y'all crack in a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We need to get ready. This is something we need to just continue to stay organized. Don't start buying into trying to all be politicians. You know what I'm saying? So quick. Don't start all trying to buy into the system with the Black Caucus. But hold on, we need you. You got to stay in the streets, because the reason they letting y'all be politicians is because you put so much pressure on them in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like Kennedy, the reason that black people love Kennedy so much is because black people was on Kennedy ass.
Yes.
The reason black people love Johnson so much is because black people was on Johnson ass. You know what I'm saying? Like once Reagan and Nixon and them got in there, that's when people started becoming politicians. They had got King out the way and X. They went through the 60s and they slayed so many leaders, and they killed all the people that you recognize for protesting. So you don't even protest and march no more because
you too scared that you're gonna be Martin Luther King and get shot.
If you do it good, you get what you get if you do it good. And the same thing I tell people all the time too. They did it with that, and then they did it with, they said be a politician. They really did give you to be a politician. Change it with the vote. You know what I'm saying? The whole time while they know that the amount of time it's going to take you to change some of these things with the vote, if only black, because that's what happened. You better off with a full thing of white people that black people putting pressure on their ass than if you start putting black people in some of them spots. You start alienating black people from other black people. They start becoming house Negroes and
divided and conquered.
And now too the same thing. Martin Luther King was talking about one of a lot of the things they was asking for. It helped America in the long run for black people to start being able to eat at some of them places, and black people to start to live in some of these neighborhoods, and go to some of these schools, eventually
because they could continue to generate capital off of those
exactly,
bodies.
So some of those things help. So
it was a feeding them.
Yeah, if you could go back and tell them, look, same thing. I tell people this shit too with sports. if I could go back and tell all of them basketball players who just wanted to be in the NBA, that was in the Black League, or that was playing in the Black Baseball League, that just want to go play in the MLB, if I could be like, listen, bro, y'all gonna be the best ones at this.
Period.
Y'all gonna be this league that you try to integrate into now, that only let one of y'all play. Eventually, it ain't gonna be no white boys on the court.
Zero.
You might as well stay in that Black League. You know what I'm
And make
saying?
all that
and
money
keep them
by
black
yourself.
owners
So that's
and
what it's
stay
gonna
over
be
there.
anyway, right.
You might as well stay in the Black Baseball League. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with some of the things that was happening with the neighborhood. If you know, it's such a big sacrifice generationally to give up certain generations to know like the next generation gonna have it better. But what would have been good is, instead of integrating, is find people who can be better exterminators to get rid of these rats. Find people who can better painters to get the crib built up. We gonna have to have 2 generations that's poor as fuck. You know what I'm saying? But we gonna build up this neighborhood, so that way this neighborhood
paying it forward as opposed to trying to pay it back.
Yep, because they was trying to get. Yep,
Okay,
that's
I
exactly
like
what they
that.
was just trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
I
They
like
was,
that.
and I understand it, because it's, you know, it'd be hard for me right now if somebody was to say, do all these sacrifices, but like now I'm at the place where I understand that that's what it's got to be. But like, imagine in the 60s or in the 70s or 50s, 60s, 70s, when like you starting to see real types of change happening.
Yeah.
Somebody telling you like, listen, to get everything that we really need, your kids can't even, because right now you try to get shit fixed for your kids.
Right.
You got to give up on your kids and worry about your great grandkids.
But imagine if in the 80s and the 90s, our parents who were starting to, you know, become upwardly mobile,
Right.
weren't trying to take care of their mom and dad.
Yeah.
Imagine if they took everything that they earned and paid it forward so that we had enough. Where would we be? And if we weren't thinking about taking care of our parents, where would our kids be? We as Black people are so focused on reaching back that we can't see in front of us.
Yeah.
We have to switch that mindset and really think about switching up the logic and understand that the people before us are adults. The people before us have certain capabilities that we may not have, or we may have certain capabilities that they did not have. But as long as we keep looking behind us, we
in front of
cannot
us.
take care of what's in front.
Can't see it.
I think that with your example there about, you know, having the information back then would have changed drastically what we see now. But now we live in the information age.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we have no excuse
None at all. Yeah, we got
we have all of the information that says that every time we split ourselves up and go do XYZ, this is what we turn into.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
We have the opportunity to fix those mistakes. We are at that historical turn.
This is it.
This is our historical turn. This
Yeah.
is the first historical turn we've had since the 60s, since 1964. This is the first time that we've seen a major turn in history.
Yeah.
And we have more information now than we have ever had while we've been in this country. If we do not take that information and metabolize it so that we are focusing forward and paying that forward, we are going to end up back here in 20 more years.
Yeah, and that's what
Crack is going to be here in 15
No, yeah,
years.
it's gonna be something else coming.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Whenever this virus is wrapped up, when the virus wrapped up, and they done got all the locked all the niggas up from these protests and rallies and all these different places, it's gonna be somebody gonna have some documentary talking about how they did the little 13 thing. They gonna have something from 2020 to 2030 if people don't play it right. Because this is the same thing with going back and reading, like, but the same way, like, for us, that this is a moment where people should be like, look at the police, you know what I'm saying? You got to defund them, get rid of all this. The same thing was for the first half of the 60s. That's how they view some of the protests and the riots that happened. Like, listen, we got to put more money in welfare. We got to put more money in the school systems. We got to do more about trying to get Black people jobs. But for that second half of the 60s and the 70s, once King was gone and X was gone and Medgar Evers was gone and they was putting people down, they was like, actually, you know what probably fix them turning up like this? Stop giving their ass so much money for that community center down there and put some more money for the police and get some more tear gas and some more gas mask and beef up how many police you got and double the police that you got. And that's when you get to the 70s with the Black Panthers, and now they going to beef up the weaponry. Exactly. And that's why they doing the breakfast program, because Reagan getting into office and Reagan taking triple out of the program,
Right.
you know, that people had and stuff like that, you know, so.
Like, I agree that it's so important for us not to look back so much so that we can see what's going on in front of us. That's how you drive. You know what I'm saying? So, like, right now, we are having demonstrations. There's protests. I want you guys to both kind of tell me, what is the difference between a peaceful protest and a non-violent protest?
According to the definition, they are interchangeable terms. A peaceful protest is a nonviolent protest. I've seen people, you know, taking those things and trying to separate what they stand for, but they are the same. Both a peaceful protest and a nonviolent protest, depending upon what you want to call it, is still a protest. And a protest is designed to disturb the status quo. The end.
Period.
No, I agree, and I agree in spirit, you know, with what Aija said. I think the only thing that I differ on is I think Martin Luther King would lead people on. He would have what you would say, what I would more qualify as like a peaceful protest. You know, it was I wouldn't even say because let me say Martin Luther King would lead people on a peaceful demonstration. They would have a peaceful demonstration at the sit-in when you do a sit-ins or when you do the marches. For the atmosphere that they brought was a peaceful demonstration. But I also think that when the Black Panthers went to Sacramento with all them guns, that's a demonstration too. But it's a non-violent demonstration. And that's only because I feel like they use the word peaceful to handicap you, because certain people gonna say, well, no, you coming there, the Black Panthers come with all them guns, that's not peaceful, you know what I'm saying?
Right, but they aren't doing anything violent.
Yeah, I agree, it is still
Right.
peaceful, but then that's when you gotta get to the place where you gotta play the word game with people. And
Semantics.
you know, you gotta, exactly, you know, you gotta be like, okay, so since you gonna say that them coming with the guns wasn't a peaceful protest, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it was a non-violent protest, you know what I'm saying? Because for you, the gun represent your peace being disturbed, which it's not. That's the fact that that's how you see it lets you. To me, all of these things resonate with the idea that these people that they call peace officers are not peace officers, because the same thing that, you know what I'm saying, because that's how the word peace works. Like peace only
true.
works
That makes so
depending
much
on
sense.
how the person who is being approached by the person who's saying that they coming in peace. Like if I say I come in peace, but I got a pistol in my hand,
You're not coming in peace.
you know, but somebody else who they come to meetings with pistols in hand, and like if it's a mafia meeting and I'll say I come in peace and I got a pistol in hand, you like, okay, what's up, bro? Sit your gun down, you know what I'm saying? We sit down and eat, you know what I'm saying? Because to him, if you ain't shooting them, then it ain't peaceful,
it's not
you know.
violent.
But to somebody who ain't around guns, to them it's like, okay, this not peaceful because you done brought a gun, you know. The same thing, like. When we go to the protests and they come with like shields and batons, we at the place now where for us, we understand that, you know what I'm saying, and we recognize that, and we can still use the concept that we coming to have like a peaceful protest because we know the manner of where we being approached. But a set of white women but seeing the batons and stuff like that, to them, that's gonna ruin the whole concept of a peaceful protest to them, because they not used to being approached like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if a cop, like even on some real shit, like if we was at at Murphy's and the cops had like the shields or whatever, if I would have been having to talk to somebody semantically, I'd have been like, yeah, technically those cops was peaceful there, you know what I'm saying? Because I done seen them beat people ass with them shields before. So to me, that's peaceful, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same concept with this. Like when Martin Luther King came in, what they would do was they was trying to weigh on the conscience of people and make people feel like, look how fucked up these police officers is. Look what they do to you. Look how fucked up these people is. It's weighing on your conscience, and that was how they was trying to convert people, you know. And I remember Stokely Carmichael saying the only thing that he miscalculated is that for that to work, your enemy got to have a conscience, and America has no conscience, so it couldn't work, you know. And so I say that to say, when it was time, later on in the 70s, for other people to do their own version of demonstrations, it was like, okay, we instead of coming to try to get you to feel sorry for us and to be like, damn, it's fucked up what they doing to them. We gonna come to y'all like how they come to us. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna let you, the same way y'all feel with us, all of us coming here with guns, that's how we feel when they banging on our doors. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The same way you feel when we outside of your house protesting, that's the same way black people feel when they do a no-knock warrant. You know what I'm saying? And they kick in behind the Taylor door. You know, the same way you feel about having to hear these sirens at City Market, it's the same way it feel being on the west side on a Friday night and you gotta hear them sirens all the time. The same way you don't like hearing this loud music, it's the same way that they let, loud music be played on the certain side of town, but on the other side of town, somebody gonna call the police and they gonna come wrap it up. You know what I'm saying? Because it's no appealing to your conscience no more. So now I gotta appeal to your fears.
So let's talk about that. Why? I'm gonna ask a couple more questions, then we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Now, tell me why did you choose City Market? Why did you choose the Winnebago County Courthouse, Justice Center? Why did you choose Food Truck Tuesday to hold your non-violent demonstrations?
And I think that the reason I chose all those places is just because of Rockford isn't the same way Rockford isn't a highly political city. Like Rockford's not like a big event city either. You know what I'm saying? So there's very specific things that take place where it'll be bodies of people at, and there's very specific things that'll take place where it's bodies of people who like to try to be ignorant to these issues unless it's on a rap song, or be ignorant to these issues unless a basketball player talking about it at a press conference, or be ignorant to these issues unless it's like a trending topic. So we went to the places where those people is at, for as far as the Food Truck Tuesdays and as far as the City Market on Fridays. And then the courthouse, we went to the courthouse because that's where the next set of issues was after May 30th, is people was now having to go to this same courthouse to deal with these issues. And it's people coming in and out of this courthouse, and we want the people coming in and out of this courthouse to know that everything that they doing in there is BS. Because besides the fact that, it's already corrupt, it's the videos of these officers tear gassing people that's unarmed, pepper spraying people that's unarmed, tasing people that's unarmed, beating people that's unarmed, arresting people before it's in a dispersal order, giving fake charges on people. So every time you walk into here, it's because sometimes people in the morning, we'll be outside the courthouse, somebody will walk in, black people specifically, walk in, they'll be mad as hell having to hear them sirens early. They got to go to the fucking court date and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They ain't trying to deal with that shit. They walk by, they sit up there, and then whatever BS going up there, like how it be. And when they come back out, they got their fists up and they like, yeah, tell they ass, yeah, look at this, look at this, this some bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And they feel it, you know what I'm saying? And so that was the reason that we went to the courthouse.
Man, I just want to tell y'all that from the bottom of my heart, that I appreciate what both of you are doing. You're being the voice for people that may not want to speak up or feel like they can't speak up. And also the people that didn't know they even had a voice. Some people don't even know that this was even an issue to them until they heard it come from out of your hearts. And I want to tell you that on behalf of every black person here in Rockford, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys want to leave us with any final thoughts?
City
The
Market.
demonstrations will continue.
Demonstrations will continue. City Market at 5 p.m. The demonstrations will continue. You're not going back in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like it's they're
really trying some things.
Yeah.
Trying to shut it down. Through
suppression.
Yeah, the repression out here is like wild. They're trying to slap people with lots of things to keep them from convening together, but they just continue to compound the interest of why we have to make our voices heard.
Yep.
So every week, look forward to something new that we have to yell about.
I'm there.
And we'll be there.
I'm there. Hey, I am Hyphen X, man. And always remember, you don't always have to agree to have a great conversation. Peace.